There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey where the silence suddenly breaks, and the weight of everything you have endured begins to make sense. You have carried storms within your soul, faced rejection from those who never truly saw you, and carried responsibilities that many others would have collapsed under. You questioned why your path had to be so heavy, why you had to go through what seemed like endless seasons of trials while others walked lighter roads. But what you didn't realize at the time was that every single challenge was preparing you. You were being refined, shaped, and molded into something unshakable. You weren't being punished. You were being trusted. Now, as the dust settles, there is something powerful that needs to be revealed to you. The struggles you passed were not meaningless. They were divine markers along your path. Each one was a test of your spirit, your resilience, and your faith. You have passed through fire and came out as someone who can no longer be destroyed by what once tried to bury you. The storms came, but they could not drown you. The darkness rose, but it could not claim you. And now it's time to uncover what all of this meant. Because chosen ones, you passed, and it's time to tell you everything. Before we dive deeper, let me say this. Watch this video until the very end, because the energy you carry right now is powerful. As you listen, I encourage you to write your most sincere wishes in the comments, along with the number 777, because this number carries a vibration of completion and divine alignment. By doing so, you are not only speaking your desires into existence, but you are also adding to the flow of energy being released into the universe. This is your moment to declare what you seek, trusting that the alignment is already happening. Now let's return to what this truly means. You see, many doubted you. Even those closest to you sometimes believed you wouldn't make it through. People may have underestimated your strength because they didn't see the quiet battles you were fighting every day. They didn't see the nights where you cried in silence, praying for answers, yet still woke up the next morning and pushed forward. They didn't understand that your persistence was not ordinary. It was supernatural. And it is this persistence that has carried you past obstacles meant to break you. Every chosen one carries something unique inside them, a code, an imprint of destiny that no one else has. That's why the attacks against you were so specific, so relentless. The forces that tried to block you weren't random. They saw the light in you long before you could fully see it in yourself. That is why the road felt heavier for you than it did for others. The universe wasn't being unfair. It was demanding growth from you that matched the greatness inside you. And the truth is, you passed those demands, even when you thought you were failing. Look back at where you started. There were seasons when you didn't have enough, when resources were scarce, when support was absent. Yet you endured. There were times when betrayal pierced your heart, and you questioned if you could ever trust again. Still, you did not allow bitterness to own you. There were times when doors slammed shut in your face and you thought your story was over. But even then, you discovered new paths that kept you moving forward. Each of these was proof that you were not alone in this journey. You were being guided, carried, and aligned for a bigger picture. And now, after so much time walking through deserts, you are finally reaching rivers. What once drained you of hope is now turning into a testimony of your strength. What once hurt you is now teaching others. And the same people who doubted you will soon be forced to see that the hand of destiny never left your side. Because chosen ones, you didn't just survive, you passed. And the moment of revelation has come. When you look at your journey, it might seem like it was filled with endless detours, endless delays, and endless struggles. Yet what you are realizing now is that these so-called delays were not mistakes. They were protection. Every door that closed was saving you from a trap you couldn't see. Every relationship that ended was preventing you from being tied to someone who would have weighed down your destiny. Every opportunity that slipped away was redirecting you to something far greater than you imagined. In the moment, it felt like loss. In hindsight, it was preservation. You see, chosen ones are rarely allowed to walk the easy path. The easy path would have kept you small, distracted, and attached to things that had no place in your future. Instead, you were called to endure. And through this endurance, you built strength that can never be shaken. That's why you survived storms others could not. That's why you carried burdens that would have crushed someone else. Because your spirit was trained for more. The universe knew your capacity long before you did. Many times, you thought you had failed. Maybe you thought you didn't pray enough, believe enough, or do enough. But the truth is, even in your weakest moments, you were still carrying something sacred. Even in the times when you felt empty, your light was still shining brighter than you knew. That's why so much came against you. Darkness does not waste energy fighting what isn't a threat. It fought you so hard because you are. This is why people sometimes treated you differently than your siblings, your peers, or those around you. You may have noticed that the rules never seemed to apply the same to you. Others could get away with things you couldn't. Others could walk through life lightly, but you carried weight. This wasn't punishment. This was purpose. You were being set apart. And though at times it felt lonely, this separation was necessary for your growth. Think about how many times you almost gave up. How many nights you whispered to yourself, "I can't do this anymore." Only to find strength the next day you didn't even know was still inside you. That was not coincidence. That was divine intervention. That was proof that you were never walking alone, even when no one else could see the battles you were fighting. Now, because you passed those battles, there is an unfolding happening in your life. You're stepping into a season where the hidden will be revealed. The truth about who you are is no longer going to be something only you sense quietly in your spirit. It will be something undeniable. People around you, even those who underestimated you, will start to feel it. They won't even understand why they are suddenly drawn to you, or why your presence feels heavier now. But it is because the fullness of what you carry can no longer be hidden. And this is important. The same people who overlooked you will now have to witness your rise. They might try to dismiss it, but they cannot deny it. The energy around you is shifting. The doors that refused to open before will begin to swing wide. The opportunities that were blocked will now appear with clarity. But it won't just be about material gain or recognition. It's about alignment. You are stepping into a life that matches the soul you have become. So if you feel tired, if you feel like you've been walking too long without seeing enough results, take this as your confirmation. The journey is not wasted. You passed. Every tear watered the ground for your breakthrough. Every heartbreak broke chains you couldn't see. Every delay positioned you for divine timing. And now, as the truth begins to surface, you will realize why you had to carry so much, and why it couldn't be anyone else but you. As you continue to reflect, you begin to realize that the weight you carried wasn't just about your own life. It wasn't only about your own lessons, your own growth, or your own destiny. No, it was much bigger than that. What you were carrying stretched beyond yourself. It was generational. You were carrying burdens that others before you could not overcome. You were chosen to break patterns that had been in your family line for decades, even centuries. That's why your siblings, your cousins, or others close to you might have seemed freer, lighter, or less attacked. The assignment wasn't placed on them. It was placed on you. This is why at times you felt misunderstood. Others around you might have wondered why you take life so seriously, or why things affect you more deeply than they seem to affect others. But the truth is, your sensitivity is not a weakness. It's your gift. It's the very thing that allows you to see what others overlook, to feel what others numb themselves to, and to recognize spiritual realities that others remain blind to. That's why your spirit has been so restless in environments where others seem comfortable. You were never meant to blend in. because blending in would have kept you from fulfilling the higher call that has been placed upon you. Every time you questioned why you had to be the one to stand up, to sacrifice, to say no when everyone else was saying yes, you were exercising the strength of the chosen. And even when you felt like no one saw it, the heavens recorded it. Not one act of obedience went unnoticed. Not one tear shed in silence was wasted. You were being shaped for something your siblings could not hold. That doesn't mean they are less than you. It simply means their assignment is different. Your role requires a resilience and a depth that not everyone was designed to carry. Look closely at the patterns of your life. How many times were you forced to grow up faster than you wanted to? How many times did you feel like the responsible one, the one others leaned on when they didn't know where to turn? While it felt unfair, it was also preparation. You were being trained to carry not just your own weight, but also to hold space for others. That's why people, even strangers, are often drawn to you, sharing their stories, seeking your guidance, or simply feeling comfort in your presence. They sense something strong yet gentle within you. They sense that you've been through battles and yet still radiate light. But let's be honest. There were times when that role felt crushing. Times when you wished someone else could take the load for once. Times when you envied the simplicity of others who seemed to walk through life carefree. In those moments, you may have even resented your calling. But even then, the calling did not leave you. You could not run from it. Even in your rebellion, even in your mistakes, something always pulled you back, because the weight you carried was never optional. It was destined. And here is the beauty. Though it felt heavy, it was never meant to break you. The very weight that seemed unbearable was also the very thing that built your strength, shaped your wisdom, and deepened your compassion. You now carry within you a perspective that few people will ever reach. You know what it feels like to be overlooked, to be underestimated, to be burdened. And because of that, when you rise, you will never take your light for granted. This is why envy often surrounds you. People don't always understand the unseen battles you've fought. They only see the strength, the glow, the breakthroughs. They see the result, but not the process. They envy the crown, but know nothing of the cross you bore to wear it. And while they wonder why it was you and not them, the truth is simple. You were chosen because you could endure what they could not. Now the time is coming when all of those unseen sacrifices will come full circle. The very things that felt like losses will be revealed as victories. The very things that separated you will now set you apart for greatness. And the same family, the same siblings, the same peers who once didn't understand will one day look at you with new eyes. Not with superiority, not with comparison, but with recognition. They will see what you've carried, and they will understand why it had to be you. So don't resent the weight. Don't despise the struggle. For what you've carried has refined you into someone unstoppable, unshakable, and undeniable. And that is why you are stepping into a new season where the heaviness will turn into honor, and the burden will turn into blessing. There comes a moment when the truth about being chosen begins to settle in your spirit, not just as a burden, but as a privilege. At first, it may not feel that way, because all you could see was the struggle, the isolation, and the endless battles. But as you look back, you begin to notice something remarkable. Every hardship was also a hidden lesson. Every obstacle was secretly an initiation. Every time life stripped something from you, it also deposited something deeper within you. Think about it. The times when you felt abandoned were actually the moments you were learning how to stand on your own feet. The times when you were rejected taught you how to recognize your worth without needing anyone else's validation. The moments when you were broken down were the same moments that forced you to rebuild yourself stronger than before. While others were coasting through life, you were being forged in fire. And that fire, though painful, made you into someone who cannot be easily shaken. This is why you carry what your siblings couldn't. You didn't choose it, but you grew into it. And as much as you wished at times for an easier road, deep down you know that if you had been spared the trials, you would not have become who you are today. There is a sharpness to your vision now, a clarity in your spirit that was born from everything you've endured. You don't just see situations on the surface. You see the undercurrents, the motives, the unseen dynamics. It's as if life trained you to perceive reality with a heightened awareness, preparing you for the role you now step into. Your siblings or others in your circle might have been shielded from certain storms, not because they are weak, but because their journey doesn't require it. They might live lighter lives, but lighter does not always mean stronger. You, however, were given the mantle that demanded endurance. You were the one trusted to confront the shadows, to bear the tension, and to transform the weight into wisdom. And as difficult as it's been, that responsibility has produced a resilience in you that nothing else could have. Sometimes chosen ones wrestle with guilt. You may have asked yourself, why me? Why was I given this responsibility while others seem free? Why do I have to sacrifice so much? But the truth is, you were not chosen to punish you. You were chosen because you were capable. The weight was measured before it was ever placed on your shoulders, and it was found that you had the strength, the courage, and the heart to carry it. It's important to understand this. What you carry is not just for you. It is for those connected to you, for those who will one day be healed, inspired, or lifted because you didn't give up. Your siblings may not understand now, but they will benefit from your endurance. The doors you unlock will not just open for you, but for them as well. The battles you win will ripple outward, breaking chains they didn't even know existed. That is the beauty of being chosen. It's never just about you. It's about the generations after you, the people tied to you, and the unseen lives you will touch simply by standing firm in your purpose. And that's why envy will often arise. Because while others may not carry the weight, they sense the authority it gives you. They may not fully understand it, but they feel it. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you handle challenges. It carries a depth that cannot be faked. Some will admire it, others will resent it, but none can deny it. The glow you have is not from ease, but from endurance, not from privilege, but from persistence. This is also why certain relationships in your life didn't last. People came and went, and sometimes you blamed yourself for it. But the truth is, many could not withstand the pressure of walking with someone chosen. They couldn't understand why your path required so much discipline, so much reflection, so much seriousness. They wanted the light without the fire, and when they realized that your glow came from a depth they weren't ready to face, they drifted away. But don't mistake their departure for your failure. Their leaving was part of the refining, creating room for those who are truly meant to stand with you in this next chapter. Now, you stand at the edge of transformation. You are stepping out of a season of endless trials into a season of recognition and revelation. The strength you built in silence will soon speak louder than words. Those who overlooked you will not be able to ignore you. Those who doubted you will not be able to deny you. And the very weight that once made you cry out in frustration will become the crown that affirms your purpose. So hold steady. The burden has always had a purpose, and that purpose is now unfolding. You didn't just survive for yourself, you survived for everyone who will be freed, because you carried what others could not. When you think about the path you've walked, it becomes clear that much of your journey has been about endurance and unseen battles. While others lived their lives without questioning too deeply, you were often pulled into the realm of the invisible. You felt things they didn't feel, carried weights they couldn't carry, and navigated storms that seemed to come only for you. At times it felt unfair, almost as though life singled you out. But now, with clarity, you begin to understand. It wasn't unfairness, it was preparation. From the earliest days, you were wired differently. Even as a child, you noticed details others overlooked. You felt the pain in people's voices, even when they smiled. You carried empathy that was almost too heavy for your young shoulders. And as you grew, life added to that weight. Heartbreaks came earlier and sharper. Disappointments cut deeper. Failures lingered longer. But instead of destroying you, each of these experiences carved something inside you. They sharpened your intuition, expanded your compassion, and refined your strength. This is the essence of being chosen. You are never allowed to remain shallow. Life keeps pulling you deeper, demanding that you face what others avoid. And though you've cried for relief, you've also gained insights that no one can take away from you. This is why you move differently. It's why you can walk into a room and feel the undercurrents. It's why you can sense people's true intentions before they speak. It's why you can navigate challenges with a calmness that surprises even you. All of this is evidence that you were entrusted with something more. But there's another layer. What you carry is generational. This is not just about your story. It's about rewriting a history that existed before you were born. Many families carry unspoken patterns, cycles of poverty, cycles of brokenness, cycles of silence. These patterns pass from one generation to the next, often unchallenged. But when a chosen one is born, those patterns are confronted. And that is what has happened with you. You were not only given your own battles, you were handed the unfinished battles of those who came before you. That's why your siblings may live easier lives. It's not because they are more loved or more fortunate, but because you were assigned to break what they could not. You were given the keys to doors that remained locked for generations. It is through you that healing flows, that curses break, that possibilities open. This doesn't make you superior, but it does make you pivotal. And deep down, you know this, because the weight has always felt bigger than just your own story. And while you've carried these responsibilities, you've also carried a quiet ache, the ache of being misunderstood. Your siblings, your friends, even people you loved deeply may have looked at your choices and thought you were overcomplicating life. They may have mocked your seriousness, dismissed your convictions, or accused you of being different for no reason. But they couldn't see the forces at work. They couldn't understand the fire you were walking through. To them, you were difficult. But to the unseen world, you were dangerous. Because your endurance was breaking chains they never thought could be broken. There's a truth that can be hard to accept. Being chosen often means being lonely. Not because you are unworthy of companionship, but because very few can truly understand the weight you carry. Many will celebrate your victories without recognizing the cost of them. They'll enjoy the fruits without acknowledging the soil you had to bleed into. But chosen ones are not here for applause. You are here to fulfill a destiny that echoes beyond temporary recognition. And here's the breakthrough. The loneliness you've endured has forged a bond between you and the divine that no one else can replicate. While others leaned on people, you learned to lean on higher strength. While others looked for answers in the crowd, you found them in the quiet. And because of that, your foundation is unshakable. The storms that destroyed others couldn't collapse you, because your roots were not in the temporary. They were in the eternal. This is why your path is shifting now. The tests were never meant to be endless. They were meant to prove that you could handle what was coming. And now, the tables are turning. The same people who once questioned your silence will be stunned by the wisdom that flows from your mouth. The same people who overlooked you will wonder how you became the anchor in the storm. The same siblings who didn't understand your sacrifices will one day thank you, because the doors you opened will bless them too. So as you stand in this moment, remember, you were not chosen because life wanted to punish you. You were chosen because life trusted you. You were chosen because the strength you carry was the exact strength required to shift the story, not just for you, but for everyone tied to you. And now, what was once a burden is becoming your testimony, and what once broke you is becoming your crown. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where the weight begins to feel almost unbearable. You've carried responsibilities that weren't yours alone, endured trials that seemed unfair, and stood in silence when you could have defended yourself. because something inside told you not to waste your energy on battles too small for your destiny. This season of heaviness hasn't been meaningless. It has been shaping you into the kind of person who can not only carry the load, but also turn it into wisdom that others will one day rely on. Think about how many times you've been misunderstood. You didn't always have the words to explain why you chose the harder path, why you refused shortcuts, or why you distanced yourself from people who seemed perfectly fine to everyone else. They didn't see what you saw. They didn't feel what you felt. The difference wasn't arrogance. It was discernment. Deep within, you were guided to protect your future even when it cost you relationships, even when it made you look cold or distant. What they couldn't see was that your silence was an act of strength, and your withdrawal was an act of survival. The truth is, being chosen often feels like being punished until the purpose reveals itself. It feels isolating, heavy, and exhausting. But one day, the hidden meaning surfaces, and suddenly all the pieces begin to align. That's the turning point you are approaching now. For years you were tested, refined, and often broken down. But now, life is preparing to display the reasons for all of it. The closed doors that frustrated you were not rejections. They were protections. The betrayals that broke you were not signs of weakness but redirections. And the long nights of tears were not wasted. They watered the soil for the blessings that are about to bloom. Look at how much you've grown. Years ago, the same struggles would have destroyed you. A single disappointment might have kept you stuck. A betrayal might have hardened your heart forever. But now, you've learned how to bend without breaking. You've learned how to cry without collapsing. You've learned how to lose and still rise again. That growth is not something that can be taught in books or classrooms. It is carved into the soul through lived experience. And that is what makes you different from those who stand beside you. They may have had easier paths, but ease never forges depth. This is why destiny required you, and not them. It's why you were chosen to carry what your siblings couldn't, why you were entrusted with the battles that skipped over them. The very things that made you question your worth are the same things proving it now. Your resilience has become a weapon. Your compassion has become a shield. And your wisdom has become a light in the dark. This is not the end of the struggle, but it is the beginning of recognition, not from people necessarily, but from life itself. The energy is shifting in your favor. Where once doors slammed shut, new ones are beginning to open. Where once people dismissed you, now they can't help but notice you. It's not because you are louder or different, but because the world can no longer ignore the force you've become. And the most powerful part? You don't need to prove anything. Your existence is proof. Your survival is proof. Your very presence in the face of all you've endured is the loudest testimony of all. And soon, what was hidden will be revealed. The people who once whispered about you will one day speak your name with respect. The family members who couldn't understand your sacrifices will begin to see the fruit of your endurance. And even you will look back at the nights you thought you wouldn't make it through and realize that you were never abandoned. Every step, every tear, every silence carried meaning. This is the season where the heaviness begins to turn into harvest. The chains you've been breaking for years are finally snapping loose. The cycles that plagued your family are ending with you. And the blessings that felt delayed are aligning in perfect timing. You are no longer simply carrying weight. You are carrying transformation. You are becoming the very shift that generations prayed for, but never lived to see. So if the path feels unfamiliar right now, it's because you're walking into a new chapter. You are no longer just enduring. You are about to begin thriving. You are no longer just surviving. You are about to step into the season of reaping what you've sown. And when it happens, you will realize that none of it was wasted. Not the pain, not the waiting, not the tears. It all had purpose. It all had meaning. And it has led you right here, to this turning point where destiny begins to unfold in ways you could never have imagined. An ending is never really an end for the chosen one. It is the beginning of what was promised all along. You carried storms that were never meant for others, and now the light is finally breaking through. Every sacrifice, every silence, every battle has crowned you with strength that cannot be denied. Walk forward, knowing destiny bows to your persistence, and no darkness can stand against the fire inside you. This is your season to rise,